You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
Welcome to this episode of the Business of Practice podcast, where we focus on the business and human sides of equine veterinary medicine. In this episode, we're going to talk to Dr. Charlotte Lacroix about the legal aspects of telemedicine. I'm your host, Dr. Amy Grice, business consultant and former equine practice owner. The Business of Practice podcast is brought to you in 2025 by CareCredit. Dr. Lacroix earned her Doctor of Veterinary Medicine from UC Davis in 1988, after which she worked as an equine practitioner until her love of advocacy led her to earning a law degree at the University of Pennsylvania in 1997. Her professional career has been dedicated to helping veterinarians and other members of the industry navigate risks and challenges within the veterinary profession. Dr. Lacroix owns Veterinary Business Advisors, a national consulting firm for veterinary business and legal issues. She has over 20 years of experience assisting veterinarians and lectures extensively on business and legal issues, as well as facilitates continuing education seminars nationwide. Dr. Lacroix volunteers for organizations including the AVMA, AHA, AAEP, the New Jersey VMA, and the Pennsylvania VMA. She is currently a board member of the Veterinary Innovation Council and the Veterinary Virtual Care Association. Welcome, Dr. Lacroix. It's so good to have you back with us today.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Grice. I really appreciate the opportunity to share a few tips on telemedicine with your audience today.
It is the wild, wild west out there. Depending on what state you practice in, the laws of telemedicine may differ quite a bit and they may change quickly. How are folks best learning about the situation in their practice area?
So because of where telemedicine is in human medicine, and because we're watching the evolution of how states are gradually adopting virtual telemedicine in their states, meaning allowing a virtual VCPR, meaning you don't have to have a physical exam. And, it's now legal in a virtual VCPR can be established in the big states, California, Florida. New Jersey's a little state, but it was one of the first ones, and Arizona. And so when you actually look at the number of veterinary practices that are under the jurisdiction of some form of VCPR, there are more veterinary practices that are in jurisdictions that allow a virtual VCPR than not. And I think the writing is on the wall, and this is consumer driven. So for me, the recommendation that I give to veterinary practice is I say, first of all, I'm not clairvoyant, but I do believe this is the beginning of it happening. So how do we prepare ourselves as a veterinary practice? Well, every veterinary practice in the nation can practice telemedicine for its recheck. So if you want to recheck an eye injury, a skin injury, even a lameness, I think a lameness is great, because horses, when you do a lameness and the horse knows that you're there, they're not necessarily going to be the same as when they're just doing, trotting around in a ring just with their owner, right? I mean, we know horses are very sensitive, perceptive animals. I would try to figure out in my practice, how do I deliver telemedicine services for rechecks? Because if we thought adopting electronic medical record keeping was difficult or challenging, operationally using telemedicine in practice is going to be just as challenging, right? Because you have to, and it's technology based, right? Are you doing synchronous, asynchronous videos? How are you monetizing it? How are you compartmentalizing veterinary time? I think this is a great opportunity for veterinarians that, for whatever reasons that are going on in their lives, maybe they can only work part-time for you, but they could work and check on rechecks off their computer at home with live video appointments with their clients. And because this is not going to be easy to integrate operationally, and also train our clients that this is something you charge for, and ensuring that the clients have proper technology as well. Half the time they're probably going to be using it off their phone. Is it working? Is it not working? Is the image good? It's certainly the history that someone can give us. I would try to figure that out now. Because when if you're not in a state that allows a virtual VCPR, when that time comes, you want to be ready and poised. You don't want to be figuring it out then. Now, that said, there's lots of different forms of technologies out there that are there to help us. And there's a lot of homework to be done to vet them. If you will, you want to make sure that, the videos or the information is properly documented, that it can integrate with your software. You want to make the billing easier, all these things that you can integrate. And then the other thing is, I think you want to train yourself to feel comfort as to using, virtualness in your, certainly in your practice. And, I think some of the members of your audience may have read this book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And there's basically 3 aspects to running a business. There's the people that do the work, there's the people that manage the work, and there's people that envision the work. And another book that I love is Good to Great from Jim Collins is a lot of companies fail and businesses fail because they don't envision the future. They don't grab the future before the future is way past them. And I think in order to be successful and competitive, and in particular, we were discussing this before the podcast, is there, how do we get more veterinarians to get into equine practice? How do we get them to stay in equine practice? And there's a shortage of supply of veterinarians. And I think the equine professionals were worried, where's the next generation of veterinarians going to come? And part of it is reinventing how we offer or provide services so that we are more efficient. Technicians play a big role in it as well. Hats off to AAEVT, but, I think if you're later in your years and you're like, I don't want to do this, I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing, that's fine. But if you're, early to mid in your career, if you're a practice owner, even if you're just an employee, an associate, I think we need to take this on in our practices.
Absolutely. I agree.
The Business of Practice podcast is brought to you by CareCredit. CareCredit keeps equine veterinarians at the heart of care by providing horse owners with simple, budget-friendly financing options. By helping to bridge the gap between cost and care, CareCredit supports healthy financial relationships between veterinarians and their clients. Clients have a flexible way to pay over time for all types of care, and practices get paid in 2 business days. It's a payment experience everyone can feel good about.
So when people are saying, okay, I'm going to do this, what are some of the important steps to think about in terms of, how you have to document all the communications and stuff? What are some of the steps? Those are nuts and bolts, but getting clients to accept that this is a good way to do things and that it has value.
So I think you're going, part of it, so you have to figure out how you're going to implement it operationally. And there are consultants that help you do the nuts and bolts of that. And we tend to think that most of those consultants are in small animal. There's actually plenty of equine practitioners that are doing this, and I would learn from them. And part of it is communicating to the client base that this is a service. And if you're in a state that you can only do it on rechecks, then you say, look, this is a service that we are offering to our clients. These are the type of scenarios where this is conducive. So, if we went and did worked on suture to laceration, and we'd like to do a recheck to see how it's healing, or if you have any concerns as to how it's healing, or or these larger practice, if we had a surgery colic did colic on your horse, and maybe you could take a photo of the incision line or any surgery, right, to so let us see how it's healing rather than having us come on the farm to see that. And yes, this will come up with it'll be a charge for service, but it may be less than if somebody, and it's more convenient, right? So somebody can give you the picture now, and then you might say, no, I think I need to see a video. And I think this is going to be the hard part, right? And by the way, anytime you introduce new technology into the industry, whether it was when we do EKGs or radiographs or lasers or endoscopes or whatever, all these technology, we don't know how to use it that well initially, right? So it takes time, and telemedicine is going to be the same thing. And so you're going to feel uncertain. Well, if you feel uncertain, then you say, look, that picture isn't good enough. Not that you'll say it that way, but say, could we take other views? Or, I'd feel more comfortable if we did a video. Or, you know what, I really can't see what's going on here. Let me come out Wednesday afternoon and check. And also telemedicine, I think, could be used as a bridge to say, I don't think we need to come today, but I think we can come Wednesday. So that to help, to give, and, what you're giving your clients is a peace of mind. And with the younger generation, they want that peace of mind. And, many of them are a heck of a lot, depending on what age group you're on. I'm in the older baby boomer one, but they're very comfortable with technology. They're very comfortable as to using technology as a conduit. And technology is not a substitute for a physical exam. It's an extension of the physical exam. And if you feel the physical exam is needed now, then go to the farm now. If you think that the physical exam can wait 2 to 3 or 4 days, then that's what you do, is wait 2 to 3 or 4 days. The other part of this, to your question, is you need to look at your state law on this because they vary greatly. So the New Jersey law, actually, which was adopting telemedicine for all healthcare professionals, including veterinarians, they have a really good spelled out guidelines. Other ones, not so much. So some states will say, you need to have a consent, meaning you need to explain to the client the pros and cons. And by the way, I'm going to give a plug to the Veterinary Virtual Care Association. So it's vvca.org. And by the way, you can go to vvca.org and there's a map that shows in your state whether a virtual VCPR is there or not. And I'd like certainly that organization and Animal Policy Group is instrumental in keeping that map updated, and it's for free, so anybody can go on it. And then there's videos, but they're small animal, of course. But if there's any equine practitioners who want to do a video for the organization, please step up and let us know. Look at your state, because some states will even allow you to do prescriptions. So typically maybe it'll be 2 weeks prescription, but you can't renew it. Doesn't apply to controlled drugs. So there are some guardrails, but they do vary by state. I don't think we've done not me, but I don't think legislators have done a really good job of having a properly detailed, good legal template that then give veterinarians consistent, real consistent guidelines on this. It's kind of a mishmash, but that's typical with state board rules anyway, is that they will often, some states will really articulate what the standard of care is on certain things. I'm thinking Virginia's got it pretty well spelled out. Other states are like, well, we reserve the right to sanction veterinarians that don't practice within the standard of care. And they're like, okay, well, what's the standard of care? So that it will be variable, but stay abreast of your certainly the laws in your state.
What do you think is going to happen with the use of telemedicine? There's a lot of emergency triage kind of things going on. There's some that have actual veterinarians, and then others that don't. What are your thoughts on that?
So there's a lot of companies out there that advertise themselves as triage. But this is my big problem with these companies. The companies in their advertisements are saying, we have veterinarians, you will speak to a veterinarian. Pretend like you're a consumer, you know nothing about veterinary medicine, right? if you're a consumer and you talk to a veterinarian, don't you think you're receiving veterinary advice as the consumer?
Why, yes.
So why do these companies, if they're only doing triage and they're not practicing medicine, why do they need to advertise they got veterinarians answering the telephone? That just seems to be like and what advice they're doing, I mean, who knows, right? And all this may be moot anyway, because if virtual VCPRs are allowed, then veterinarians can talk and do, certainly triage. And I think that's also going to push more practices in doing their own, certainly potentially their own triage,
Right.
their triage there. And ultimately, and this is why I believe if you are giving, and the triage companies are like, we're not providing veterinary services, so we don't need to be licensed in the state in which that service is being provided. But I'm not okay. Personally, I'm not okay with that. I think especially if you're advertising you have a veterinarian, why would you need to advertise you have a veterinarian if you're not practicing medicine? Or the consumer, I mean, of course the consumer thinks if they're talking to a vet, they think they're getting veterinary advice, right? And then you're saying, oh no, it's not veterinary advice. Anyway, but I think they need to be licensed in the state in which they are delivering the service. And then I also think that these companies need to be associated or need to have, or in their questioning of the client, they say, do you have a veterinarian? Because if what I'm saying today is, if the medical conditions evolves into a situation that it can't wait, or if you call me back in 6 hours and say, and your horse is a lot worse, then I want to make sure that you have a veterinary hospital that you can call, so that we ensure all of that. So the client isn't left like, oh my God, I took this advice and now I don't know what to do. And I can't get back to them and they're not answering my call and it's not the same person and it's a computer now, or it's, I just think, and that will work itself out, and we may have casualties as a result of it, and very unhappy clients.
Right. I mean, everything is messy until it gets straightened out. But that's been one of the things that you notice about telemedicine, are those particular companies. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Yeah, proceed bravely. I think this is definitely evolving very, very quickly. It's consumer driven, and the equine industry, I'm confident it will adapt. I mean, look, we all started like our main source of revenue was horse and buggies in the early 1900s, right? And then the cars replaced us, and equine veterinarians survived, right? Even though your main source of revenue, horse and buggies, were replaced by automobile. And so I think as a profession, we're very malleable. And we have lots of challenges in the equine profession, but I think we should look at telemedicine as a tool that will actually help us be more efficient and able to provide quicker services and client peace of mind, to our clients. Because if you can't get there till Tuesday, at least talk to them or see the video and say, you're okay. Or no, you have to go see you need to trailer the horse now, or because I can't get there, but you do need to trailer them now. Find a place or find another veterinarian.
Very, very true. With so much work to do, it's often, having that opportunity to look at something remotely so that you can give the very best advice, so that the horses get the best care and the clients feel like their concerns have been addressed. I think it's definitely something we all need to think about.
Well, and I think telemedicine will also expand the value of veterinary medicine, because somebody's like, oh, I don't need a vet. I can get those vaccines at the tax store and whatever. If something happens, they're like, well, maybe I'll just call a vet and see what they think. And it gives an opportunity to educate the horse owner on the value of veterinary medicine. Mm-hmm. We're not just there to try to sell you vaccines and phenylbutazone, that there's value to providing veterinary care for their horses.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Lacroix. It's always great having you on. And thank you all for joining us for the Business of Practice podcast. And a big thanks to our sponsor, CareCredit. And to all my listeners out there, be brave, embrace change.